Okay, so Blue Ridge sophomores, as you guys are coming in, you're going to see, did y'all have a chance to see any of the presentations last year? Yeah. Yeah. Get a sense of this, but one of the things that you'll hear is a lot of the folks who have been presenting today and our senior presentations actually started thinking about their topics, as early as 10th grade and 11th grade. So you definitely, if you can kind of, as you watch these, enjoy the presentations, but also think about what you might be doing in a couple of years when you guys are out here. So we're going to start back again with Summer Davis.
Hi, so I'm Summer Davis, and ever since I was young, I've had a love for music, whether it was dancing in my kitchen to the famous Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli or playing piano. I've always really thrown myself into the passion. Presently, I play marimba in the marching band, and my main instrument is bassoon. I play in the high school bands, and then I also play in the Orange Community Band, Charlottesville Municipal Band, Rapidan Community Orchestra, and then I play in a woodwind quintet in conjunction with the Charlottesville Municipal Band. So music has always been something that I was really passionate about, and I always knew that I wanted to do a senior presentation about it, but I didn't really know what aspect, because I didn't know if I wanted to go into education as my field or performance or composition. So when I was thinking about it, I realized that I really love the idea of musical creativity, and that there's so much that goes into the idea of being creative in music besides just playing the music on the page. So I knew I wanted to do something about that for my presentation. So the question I decided to propose is, how does music composition and performance affect human creativity and vice versa? And being who I am, I was not able to stick very closely to just focusing on that one thing, and I branched off into numerous other things that have to do with creativity and musical inspiration, and I really also dove a lot into the cultural significance of music, because I really enjoyed all of them, and it was hard to stay focused. So my mentors, I had two James Madison professors. On the left, I had Professor Peterson, who's the head of music theory at James Madison, and on the right, my left, sorry, on your left, I have the co-professor of composition, Professor Eric Ginnivan. And Ginnivan is actually a world-renowned composer. He debuted in Carnegie Hall at the age of 8, so he was really an amazing person to have as my mentor. And when I had my internships, I really didn't want them to tell me specifically what music composition is or how creativity in music works. I really wanted to figure that out for myself and really dive into what I could find after my research. And so what I really achieved through my internship is I learned that music is really a blank state, and it's really just a piece of paper, and there's no notes written on it, basically. And it's just relying completely on what you see as the interpretation of it. And that's what I think I really enjoyed, because that's what I've always loved about music. And so for my community, service, one of the projects I'm working on is actually a fundraiser for the school art programs and music programs. And one of the main projects that I love doing was working with the kids over at Waverly Yowell, and I'll be expanding it to all of the other schools soon in this month. I worked with them on a lot of music-based art projects, because art has always been something that I really enjoyed, and music is my passion. So I decided to put them together, because what I discovered through much of my studying was that music isn't an art form itself. It inspires art, and it creates art. It's really, like, it's hard to explain. It's sort of an inspiration, and also it creates inspiration. It's hard to explain it, really. But one of the main projects I worked on was empathizing with music through art, and that I was always done as a child. And so I worked on a lot of art projects where kids were to draw what they thought the composer was thinking, or how the composer was feeling when they were writing the song. And then I also did a lot of really high-level art projects with the kids that they usually aren't allowed to do in their grade level, because they were kind of advanced. And that was really fun. And so what I'm going to be doing with this, and then with a lot of other art that I'm going to be collecting from some professionals in the area, is I'm going to be hosting a charity event at Mad Arts in one of the showrooms. And I'm going to be auctioning off and raising money to give to the art programs here at the school and at the other schools in the county. And then one of my main reasons for choosing this topic was I found out that the high school didn't have an alma mater. Well, it had one in the 80s, but then it disappeared and it's no longer in use. So I'm currently working on writing a new one, both with the inspiration from the old one, and with some elder citizens in Madison that know the old one. So I'm working on that, and that's a really big project that's taking a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it really just encompassed all that I learned in my project. The impact of my community service, I realized that music is a really broad subject. Obviously, I think I've made no sense to any of you. I really was bad at focusing in on sort of one thing for this project. But music is broad, and it kind of like connects societies. And it's such a creative thing that it's hard to really narrow it down to just composition. So what I've been doing with the Waverly kids, I've really been impacting them, and a lot of them want to start playing instruments and have been talking to me about taking up lessons or learning more about music because it's just interesting them a lot. So a bunch of the research I went into was these really interesting theories I researched about musical programming. And if you look at this is the human brain, and everything that's not this color blue right here is in use when playing music. So you've heard of this is your brain on drugs. Well, this is your brain on music. And so I really wanted to dive into how music creativity affects the brain. And this is one of the things I realized when I did more researching into it, is that it affects it on such a wide level that it's hard for us to fully understand it. Another thing that I dove into for my research is that music is as much visual as it is audio, in that most performers, when they're performing, actually see in color and are unable to identify colors in front of them while they're playing because they'll be seeing something completely different in their brain while they're playing. And that I found was really interesting. So that was something that I thought would be really interesting, and that's why I tied in a lot of my community service with art. So the main conclusions I came to when I finished my research project is that music affects creativity in the idea that it really just is creativity, and that it's just free-flowing and it doesn't really possess a stopped nature. It's really just open to interpretation. And then one of the other conclusions that I was able to come to is music is connection, and music is able to connect societies across the world. Even though it's creative and all of it's different, it's still a connecting factor, and we need to realize the similarities that it possesses rather than the differences. And so my regrets, I take on a lot. Like Sheridan said earlier, I usually branch off into too many things. I really wish, looking back at it, that I'd done something more with the cultural effects of music, because I really enjoyed that. For future rising seniors or for 10th graders in this matter, I definitely say don't procrastinate. Pick something that you really enjoy, and that'll be fun. Because if it's not fun, it's gonna be a lot of hard work, and it won't be as interesting as it is to some of us. What I learned about myself, I already knew I was a procrastinator. That is very apparent, and I learned that I really enjoy music, and that I'm definitely going to pursue it for a career. I don't know if I'm going to pursue music composition, because it definitely takes a lot of time, but I'm definitely doing something in music. So,
When you met with your mentors, what did you talk about?
well, it was really, I spent a lot of time with them and with their students, really, because I really didn't want to just get one answer to all my questions. I wanted to hear all of their ideas, because I mean, I was studying creativity, so there's not just one answer for what is creativity. And so I really spent the majority of my time either sitting down and talking to them about their works or their studies they've done, or I was working with their students and learning about some of the work they were doing, because I actually got to sit in on the graduate class of music composers at James Madison and learn and listen to all of their compositions and learn how they really came up with the ideas for it and what they used for their inspiration. So that's what I did the majority of my internship.
So have you decided where you're going?
I'm going to, I recently got into the School of Music at James Madison, so I'm going
you
there
are going.
and pursuing music, and then
Good.